Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and as
Nations Organization for
always, I am happy to have you here with me for another conversation on sex and something. And tonight, I'm joined by my guest, whom I'll ask to introduce herself.
Good night to the listening public. My name is Tracy Agrio, and I'm here to talk about sex and activism.
You were here with a broader group, and we were talking about sex and gender-based violence in the context of the 16 days of activism. Now, a number of those 16 days has passed, and so now we are kind of looking back, at some of the activities that happened as part of this 16 days, and that's why Tricia is here. So she'll share some reflections on the weeks past, and we could get into. I kind of want to get into the civil society space in general, where we go from here, how people can participate, and how we move forward. But as usual, before we get into the conversation, deep into the conversation, we take a short break so you can let everybody know that Pleasure Pulse is live, and then when we come back, we'll continue our start today's conversation. So stay tuned.
See the scars in the mirrorless glass, story written in a sadder past. Told myself this time would be the last, but I'm still here, trapped in the aftermath. You say you're sorry, but the words don't feel. I love that breaks instead it still can't be real. Every bruise, every tear, it's too much to feel. I'm fighting for a freedom you tried to steal. No, 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 please just let me go. I have to leave, I can't take this anymore. Don't tell me you love me when you made me bleed, when you tore me down and brought me to my knees. You hit me in the face, left blood in my teeth. How can you say you love me and hurt me so deep? down, broke my ribs, crushed my soul. Turned a house into a war zone, a love out of control. Every time you got angry, I paid the toll. But I'm reclaiming every piece of me you stole. No more nights of fear, no more silent screams, no more hiding in the shadows of your twisted schemes. I'm stronger now, I'm breaking from your chains, turning all this pain into strength that remains. No, 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 please just let me go. I have to leave, I can't take this anymore. Don't tell me you love me when you made me bleed, when you tore me down and brought me to my knees. You hit me in the face, left blood in my teeth. How can you say you love me and hurt me so deep? Love isn't a fist, it's not control. It's not a prison where you break my soul. I deserve more than the pain you bring.
We could work on the music.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and I had my guest introduce herself, Tricia. And we're here talking about sex and activism as part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So to start, I know we have some videos that you want to share. Can you give an idea of what people are about to see?
So the first video is actually a dance by the Angelique Dance Company, and we did that as our submission for the virtual flash mob that went out from the departments of both Gender in St. Kitts and Gender in Nevis. They asked different dance groups or organizations or modeling groups to submit a video, and for our submission, we did a performance that it started out. Oh, should I say what? Go ahead now.
You don't have to. I mean, just an idea so people can prepare themselves for what they're about to see. And also a note that folks who are listening via radio, you won't be able to see. So, that's also helpful for people there. Yes. But we could save it for after if you prefer.
So
we could give an idea. Yeah.
Okay, so there are different dancers and different persons in the scene that are actually victims right? And initially they're victims, and then there's actually a male hand that comes in and represents the kind of the power struggle and the control and the abuse that happens during gender-based violence. And then we actually learned how to talk in sign language, and so we use sign language to say, to do, see something, say something, stop violence. And it's an emotive piece, and even the music, it's a survivor's song. So while I started out saying that the dancers were victims, really they're survivors, right? And it's changing that narrative from victims to survivors.
Okay, so we'll watch that video now. Please cue the video, video man.
See the scars in the mirror's glass. Story written in a sadder past. Told myself this time would be the last, but I'm still here, trapped in the aftermath. You say you're sorry, but the words don't feel. I love that place instead of bills can't heal. Every bruise, every tear, it's too much to feel. I'm fighting for a freedom you tried to steal. No, 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 please just let me go. I have to leave, I can't take this anymore. Don't tell me you love me when you made me bleed. When you tore me down and brought me to my knees. You hit me in the face, left blood in my teeth. How can you say you love me and hurt me so deep? Threw me down, broke my ribs, crushed my soul. Turned a house into a war zone, a love out of control. Every time you got angry, I paid the toll. But I'm reclaiming every piece of me you stole. No more nights of fear, no more silent screams. No more hiding in the shadows of your twisted schemes. I'm stronger now, I'm breaking from your chains. Turning all this pain into strength that remains. No, 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 please just let me go. I have to leave, I can't take this anymore. Don't tell me you love me when you made me bleed. When you tore me down and brought me to my knees. You hit me in the face, left blood in my teeth. How can you say you love me and hurt me so deep? Love isn't a fist, it's not control. It's not a prison where you break my soul. I deserve more than the pain you
Curtis Delaney, because every time, like, I bring an idea to him, and the way in which he captures it and then brings it to life in video is magical, and I'm really, really happy.
Okay, so I am curious because, I had a conversation the other day. We know that gender-based violence, violence, is something that affects people of all genders. Was it intentional for you to use a man's hand? Were you hoping nobody would like associate it with masculinity? Tell me about that part of it.
Right, thank you. So the male hand was really to represent the patriarchal system. So instead of it just being one gender fighting the other, the dancers, and that's why we were black and white, just to kind of remove the color from the situation and just the bleak reality of it. So it was really about the system of abuse versus like a man, like a male,
or individual abusers.
Yes, abusing. Yes.
Okay. All right. And we have another video that you want to show, but we'll hold a bit on that video. Let's talk some more about activism and where that fits in. Because there are lots of ways that people can be activists, right? And there are lots of ways that people could participate, can show up. I know that, Angelique, your dance company, has been in a number of like social causes. One is climate change and sea life. You're a marine biologist.
That does not impact it at all. We actually have two marine biologists, a part of the group, and one marine protected areas manager.
Okay.
So it's not like just my bias.
Okay, sure. So how did the group, how did the group get involved in this particular activity and this particular, I guess, commemoration 16? I think you mentioned that there's a fund that you all are implementing. Talk more about that and take us to like 8:30ish, halfway through. So take 2 minutes.
Okay, cool, no problem.
Tell us about that, and we take a break.
So the Global Fund for Women funded 21 groups across the region, starting, as far up as Bahamas and I think down south to like Suriname, right? And it was female-led groups working at the intersection of gender and climate change. And the Caribbean Feminist Climate Justice Movement Advisory Committee spearheaded the dissemination of funds, and Angelique Dance Company was one of the groups that received funding. And so we were charged to function within that intersectionality. And one of the project outputs was to focus on the 16-day campaign. And we were looking at, of course, there are other activities, but also we've done work with persons from vulnerable communities at highest risk, essentially, for climate change
impacts.
Yes. I was like, wait, I lost the word. But yes, so we did that. So this is one of the pillars of implementation that we are covering.
Okay. All right. So we have another video that you want to show. So we can play that video. Cue that video, please.
So we'll be able to hear?
Probably not. So we'll watch it. And you can tell people what
the script.
So what was in the video. Nice. So we'll take a look at this other video as part of their submissions for the 16 days of activism.
The absence Our Empty Chair Awareness Campaign serves as a powerful visual reminder of the lives lost and futures stolen due to gender-based violence. Each empty chair represents a woman, a man, a boy or girl who is no longer here to take his or her place at the table, whether in the classroom, at work, or in their home. Let us be intentional as we support the victims of gender-based violence and put an end to the absence left by empty chairs.
Okay, and we're back. So luckily you were able to hear that video. So you might not have been able to see it, but you were able to hear it. And I think
Yes. So that video showed an empty chair in different locations, at a school, a church, a workplace, on the beach, and that was just something that the way in which it was captured. Again, I remember vividly when we had the conversation, and Ms. Verna Grant, a part of our planning committee. Oh, wait, let me just stop and just say thank you so much to the planning committee for this. We were just, that was just a magical experience. We were really excellent in all of the just boom, boom, boom. Everything just fit into place. When Verna Grant described the empty chair campaign, I got goosebumps. And I was like, okay, we need a visual. And right away, it's when I saw the first draft, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like I had no changes because it captured exactly what we wanted to portray. And I remember asking Verna, I said, just how you said it just now, that's the voice that I want playing. And so persons could hear it, just her tone, everything, it was perfect. And we were really proud of that. And the Empty Chair campaign actually extended beyond the video. We had empty chairs showing up in different spaces, right? And they were decorated with orange and purple, the colors of the campaign. And one of the empty chairs actually was in a classroom, right? There was a young boy that was lost, and that was impactful, right? And heavy. And there was another empty chair that was, symbolic chair that was made out of construction blocks, so representing an empty chair from the construction community. And so you had different sectors that they were sending in pictures of their empty chairs, and that was something that resonated a lot, and we got a lot of feedback on in terms of how they felt and how they felt moved to action. And that was also very important, because knowledge is just knowledge, but when you have attitude and behavior changes, then you know you're progressing as a society.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask you about the reception, because I think there are different responses to conversations around gender-based violence, and one of them is to really make light of it, you know, to think it's a joke, to joke about beating up people, to joke about whether that is beating up women, beating up men, like we just hide as a big joke. If there's a video that comes up where we see an intimate relationship and intimate partners in a physical altercation, or even like aggressively abusing each other, everybody does cackle, ha 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 ha. So yeah, that's one of the reactions. So yeah, that's why I was curious about the responses that the reception that you've gotten.
Responses. I remember I was talking to to a young man, and he was like, y'all can't stop that. Y'all can't stop gender-based violence. And I said, really? So you agree with it? He's like, no, man, I agree. I was like, okay, that's all we need, for everybody not to agree to it. And that's it. That's how it stops. It's not something that is so magical to stop. That's how it stops. You agree. You follow through with that action. That's how it stops. Well, that's a pathway. But yes.
Is it that easy? This is me just
I know.
asking for
I know. So
for more
there are
information.
Systematic things, there are psychological factors. And so I wasn't making light, but I was just saying that sometimes you really just have to let people understand some mountains are tackled literally with one step. So small actions then build, right? And then you overcome. Another thing that we thought was interesting was including men and boys in the conversation. Because sometimes when you do gender-based violence, then you have all women showing up. And so during the celebration of Kings at the Antioch Baptist Church, the Turnaround Agenda program, we actually had a sensitization, and that was over 300 men and boys in attendance that actively participated in our awareness engagement. And they're also joining the movement for the virtual flash mob. There are things that they actually did beyond that point. So it's something that is how to engage, how we engage, and how inclusive we are also helps for those each step to move towards that mountain.
I did see one of your videos where you were talking to, I think, a group of models. And I was like, where are the men and boys? So I'm happy to hear you say that. And we're only talking about men and boys because statistics show that men and boys overwhelmingly represent the perpetrators of violence, and women and girls overwhelmingly represent the victims or survivors of that gender-based violence. So we're just talking statistically here. That doesn't negate the fact that, or the reality that, there are women perpetrators, there are perpetrators of other genders, there's gender-based violence within same-gender couples, there's gender-based violence among transgender people, there's gender-based violence everywhere, right? And some of those minority groups have even higher rates than in what people is quote-unquote the general population, right? So we're talking about gender-based violence to everybody, but overwhelmingly men, when we mean cis men, straight men, and so feature heavily and on the side of the perpetrators. So no conversations about ending gender-based violence can happen without including the perpetrators, the likely, usual perpetrators. So I'm happy to hear that conversation happened. We were supposed to take a break. We're not taking at 8:30 after. We can take a break. Let's take a break and then we come back and we continue the conversation. So take a pause right there where we stop and then we come back and we continue talking. So stay tuned. We're back. You're in tune to Pleasure Pulse on ZIZ 96.1 on YouTube. Not sure on Facebook, but should be on Facebook. But on YouTube for sure, on radio, and on ZIZ's website, you could watch us there too, listen to us there. So we've been talking about sex and activism under the broader conversation about the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And where we left off, we were talking about who typically is on the perpetrator side and who typically is on the survivor side, but of course recognizing all of the realities for all of the forms of violence that can show up. And Tricia has shared with us some of the activities that Angelique has done as part of the 16 days to dances, and you were also talking about that session with TAG, that's what it is, turnaround agenda. And yeah, I said, I really pleased to hear about sessions with men. So, and you also shared that the reception has been decent. You said you had that person who kind of was like,
yeah,
what we could about it.
That was the outlier, honestly. And there were some other sessions. There was a podcast, Power in Partnership, and that was also very important. That was amazing, actually. And it's the Angelique Dance Company along with Gender, St. Kitts and Nevis, and it has been a very good synergy that has been happening. During that podcast, there were so many things that were being said. There was a married couple that was talking about just the power dynamics. There was a pastor who was moderating, a gender officer, and there was also I don't remember her title, but it's Dr. Ken Nisbet, and she was talking about the psychological impact of feeling love, of the need for control, just looking at how power balance, the psychology of power balance essentially in relationships. And that was another thing that when that happened, it also triggered how can we do more. Like this is a planning committee, and we keep also thinking about what is something else that we can also add, and that's something that's important because that ensures sustainability for these activities. So it's not just during the 16 day and then you forget about it, but how can we add these conversations to other events that we are doing so that we can continue raising awareness and really fulfilling advocacy goals. There's another thing that I think is so cool and really got people talking in unexpected ways, because persons were saying good morning and good afternoon to purple stilettos that were placed. So persons are really engaging with them, not realizing that they weren't real people. So I feel like, we really scored 10 points there. But it was something that was something that caught persons' eyes and generated conversation. And that was also really important because, and the fact that they didn't look like male or female, it just looked like a person. That was also really important because then it could be anybody, and that resonated with persons, and that was part of the feedback that we got. That like I thought it looked like you, but then it also looked like, and then but it could have looked like me, and I'm like, exactly, that's the point. Yes, there's some are tall, some are short, different heights, different shapes, but it could be anybody, and that is something that sometimes persons don't think about, right?
That anybody can experience or perpetrate gender-based violence or intimate partner violence.
And something that is a little more visual, we're in purple and orange. So orange is the UN Woman Orange the World campaign. So that's where orange comes in, and then purple is associated with domestic violence, and so we are using a combination of both colors, as you can see from the shirts and the all of the branding. And we had specific wear purple and orange days, And tomorrow will also be another Wear Purple and Orange Day. It's the last day, and we're having a candlelight vigil, a remembrance ceremony, essentially. And there would be a wreath ceremony that's just going to be symbolic of 5 lives lost in St. Kitts and 5 lives lost in Nevis. And we're going to do like a light, turn on some lights and just have a moment that to share with the families, to share with the communities that were affected. And this is from both St. Kitts and Nevis. That will be happening tomorrow, 6:15 under that. It would finish 6:45, and it's going to be at the Anglican churchyard on the front lawn, so it's accessible.
Okay, so you want people to come?
Yes.
Because I was going to ask you, apart from the reception, what the general hope is for all of these activities. I imagine, you want people to participate, and I think, like some other cause days, 16 days in a cause days, like, a cause period. But like some cause days, I find sometimes the participation can be very performative. But it's like you wear your wacky socks and then you forget about what the social issue was. So I imagine one of your hopes is to get people thinking about this long term. And you also said, y'all are thinking about what else you can do.
Integrated.
Are there any other hopes, or like what are your ideas about how to keep this attention sustained so that we can see behavior change? Like in the same example that you gave with the fellow who said, what we could do about it, recognizing that a mindset change in one person is a huge accomplishment for something like this, because we got all the laws and all them kind of things, and still, so like the laws and the things that are stopping people, it is the attitudes, right? It's how we perceive each other and perceive our roles in relationships. So what are you all thinking about doing? Do you have any early thoughts about next steps in terms of sustaining this kind of action and attention and focus on gender-based violence?
Something that I think both departments of gender in St. Kitts and Nevis, and last night we were on Freedom FM talking with Sister Sensio, and Trondaya was going into a little more about the domestic violence protocol that is established, and sharing that. And you could use the QR codes, and you could actually find more information and digestible information for the laws. And I think that is something that we will continue to push, and because persons need to know what their laws are. What is the police supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? What are your expectations? What course should you follow? And how
what resources are there?
What resources are there, and how you could receive support. And so that was actually something that I find was a high point for me coming out of the conversation last night, that information was able to be communicated. And so that is something that we definitely would be continuing, so that we can reach more persons. So once persons know, again, knowledge, attitude, behaviors, right? You increase knowledge, you change attitudes, you affect behavioral change.
Okay, so that's one of the things that you all will plan to continue, sensitization about the domestic violence protocol. Anything else that you're thinking about, or that's kind of like still in development?
Exactly, okay. Yeah. So some of the things I would prefer not to, because we're still ironing out some things. We're still we haven't done our, post breakdown. So, but again, there are a number of things that we're looking at. So just so that I don't announce prematurely, but we have been looking at and some systematic things as well.
Okay. Yes. All right. So let's talk about civil society participation. I think that there's lots of room for more NGOs, more civil society groups, more existing groups to venture into related areas, because the way that I see it, all churches are supposed to be doing work in gender, in violence prevention, in sexuality, in all of these, in relationships, right? Because the church is just one big relationship. Like,
Exactly.
it's a relationship with God. People have relationships with each other, you know, like, so we're talking about conflict resolution, all of those things. So, space for existing groups to take on more responsibility, but also space for new groups, yet to be founded groups, to shape themselves around particular issues. We have, I think, a few NGOs that are really active and really, you know, making a difference. Unlike in other Caribbean countries where like the NGO sector is so lively and active, and they get funding and they do this and they do that, and people work there and they get paid.
Listen, I know.
Yeah.
It is. Ooh, we'll probably have to come back and do that.
Yeah, but so I just want to, but this is our reality, right? Yes. At least for now. So how can people get involved? I said all of that to get to this question, which is not even really about what I said. I just want to say, but you know, we also talk about some people. I've seen people talk about people not volunteering enough. You know, people need to fulfill more of their civic responsibility and duty to each other and all of those things. So is there space for people to get involved with this work that you are doing? Are you taking interns, volunteers, whatever it is?
So the Angelique, okay, you're talking specifically about me. I was going to talk a little wider, but that's
no,
cool.
talk wider.
Yeah,
both. You can do both.
I'll do both. So the Angelique Dance Company, what we have developed, I mean, well, let me just say, next year we're going to be 20 years.
Wow.
Yes. So we are celebrating 20 years, and we have a
happy
whole
anniversary
year of activities planned. But something that we recognize, because we're a group that started doing awareness through dance in a very tangible project implementation way. We actually have two divisions. So there's a performance division and then there's a project management division. So Mr. Person who doesn't want to dance but wants to help, they can join the project management division. And then they're allocated to whatever their interest is. So if they want to do beach cleanups, we can do beach cleanups. If you want to do social justice, we can do social justice. Again, sometimes it also depends on the grant and the resources. But you want to do mental health work, we have a mechanism for that. So you can sign up to be a part of the project management division and function in those subcommittees. And so that has been something that I think was necessary. It was innovative, and it just helped us to function better, so that the burden, like the expectation for the dancer to come and also do project management is sometimes it's a mix of skills. And so having that separation, and then persons move back and forth, and then it actually makes it easier. Like, you understand how to navigate this space better. But broadly speaking, so I work closely with the Department of Youth, and the number of youth groups have dropped dramatically, and it's troubling, because I'm like, then what are they doing?
That's
what are they doing?
That's the thing. I recently was reminded of a study I shared. I think it was a study. I can't remember if it was a study, but a set of programs. Somewhere in one of them European countries. I'm giving very fake information, but the point is why it's important. Because they did some research and they found that young people were using substances, and so they had nothing to do. So when they created programs for them to channel their energy, their boredom, their angst into, is when they saw reductions in substance use. And we're talking about teenagers here, but go ahead.
Of course, that is.
Yes, the number of youth groups, and we always talking about the young people on the board, but it's like, where else they gonna go? Go ahead.
Right. And also creating groups that matter. But
where there's safety.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's not just also about creating spaces or programs, but these things have to function in a way that protects the
and does not cause harm.
Does not cause harm.
You ain't finding a place to keep your child off the street for them to be exposed to harm there.
Exactly.
And we ain't gonna call no names, but I'm this close. Go ahead.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is something that is important. It is really important because the point of us to create a society that is just and inclusive and moving towards a sustainable island state cannot be destroying the youth. It just cannot. And so creating those spaces that are actual safe spaces is something that we need to promote more. And reaching out. Sometimes I find even like going to a Sunday school, like persons. But then there are also a lot of classes, right?
Yeah.
So like the
academics have taken over.
And it's weird.
Sad.
Because like I did, I don't know, 12 subjects. Like, okay.
12 subjects? Wow.
And I had time to go dance. And I had
in 1 year?
No, not all in 1 year, but still. Like,
okay.
I had time to go like I had time to do all of the things. So I don't understand why the classroom isn't the primary classroom isn't functioning as it should. Why all of these secondary and tertiary classes have to come up, and so it's really not creating a balance.
Right, because people need time to play.
You need to play, you need to function, you need to breathe.
You need to go hang out with your friends, just, not do schoolwork.
Yeah. Like you could go out, hang out with your friends and have an academic conversation, but that should be a choice. That should not be something that is mandated that your parents paying for you to pass this particular. It really just needs to have a balance. And so I think like one young man, he was like, I have big emotions, and I'm like, okay, let's see how we could channel those things, those big emotions into something that makes you feel okay. And by the time that was during, I don't want to call it activity, but that was during a healthy activity. And when we were finished, he was like, I think this was really impactful. I said, oh, really? It was impactful? Because he just talked to me, I think this was really impactful. Proper. And I think that I would encourage my friends to come to this program. And I'm going to just say it. It was actually the Turtle Monitoring Program, Turtle Camp. And he just gave this whole speech, and then he cried at the end, and it was all emotional. And he's like, I really want to come back next year. And this was this whole thing. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, you were the person who was so so agitated at first, and then just a full circle of how the kind of impact and stuff that it created. And so I really want to encourage. I also want to encourage us to look at applying for grants and opportunities more. Like, be more dedicated. I can't say dedicated, but be more intentional about grants, and just know, like, sometimes it takes forever. Sometimes, I've had to wait for like 2 years to get approval from a grant. So I know it is crazy work, but when you get to implement and you get to see those results and you get to really impact vulnerable communities and persons who need, and persons who are marginalized, and persons with disabilities, and persons who just need help, just need support, that is really rewarding. So just encouraging persons out there.
We're at actually 9 o'clock, 8:58. So I want to invite you to share any final words, thoughts, anything that we missed that you really want the listening folks to know. Yeah.
See something, say something. We really need to end gender-based violence. It is something that can happen. It is a reality that we can move to minimizing or ending it. And it needs to be an all-of-society approach. So we need all of you. Everyone needs to play their part.
Thank you. And so that was another episode of Pleasure Pulse. We've been talking about sex and activism as part of the 16 days of activism, focusing on some of the activities that Angelique and the Departments of Gender Affairs, St. Kitts and Nevis have been doing. So the final day is tomorrow, but that doesn't mean the advocacy ends tomorrow. The work continues. This is just, you know, a high point for focus and attention on gender-based violence. But gender-based violence happens at any time and should be addressed all the time, right? Because we're in hearing of a case in the media aiming that is not happening. We're still in the post, let's say, COVID period, where we know a lot of we know that the rates of gender-based violence increased significantly. So we are still dealing with all of that, right? And we are still that on top of what we were dealing with before, right? So because you're not hearing anything and you're not seeing anything doesn't mean it's not happening. So until you hear that the rate's gone down, until you hear women especially, but people feel safe, right, to walk the streets, safe to exist online, on social media, in their homes, in their communities, at work, wherever. Until you hear people start to say that, we ain't reached there yet. So continue doing the work. Find an NGO or civil society organization that you can volunteer with. Create your own, you know, and partner, right? We need partnerships. And you could ask for advice if you want to. I was going to say, are you open I am very open. People coming to you to be like, how to apply for this grant?
Yes, I am very
so
open
where should they find you?
So you could, on social media, Tricia Griot. You could message me, 669-7301. You could send me an email, triciagriot@gmail.com, or angeliquedancecompany@gmail.com. And I'm receptive.
Okay, you heard it here. You heard it here, folks. We are all working in this. I don't really like to say fight against gender-based violence. I don't really like to fight. We're working in this movement. We are all in this movement together, and we need everybody.
Yes.
So, as usual, I want to remind you that Pleasure Pulse is a safe place where no question or topic is too big or too small. I appreciate any conversations that you all want to have. There's a way to talk about almost everything on the national radio.
Exactly.
There's a way, right? And I am always interested in finding that way to bring you the topics that you are most eager to hear about. So as usual, I'll wish you a pleasurable evening, and I will see you all next week.